Hi, everybody. Marc Summers, Unwraps. We are back with a really good guest, but we always have really good guests. What can I tell you? There's a phenomenon that happens every now and then in comedy, and our guest today is in the middle of that phenomenon, and I want to find out exactly how it happened because I was a mini part of it at the Comedy Store a few months back. Dr. Phil Live is one of the biggest hits all across the country, selling out theaters, thousands of people on a regular basis. I'm scratching my head to try to figure out how this whole thing came about. So our guest today is Adam Ray. Adam, how are you, sir?
Mark, pleasure. First-time caller, long-time listener. I mean, you know, to even be sitting here, I just was telling a good buddy of mine from Seattle who he and I dreamed as kids of being on Double Dare. My folks split when I was 9. Thanks for bringing it up. And I used to say, if I could have my parents get back together or be a contestant on Double Dare, that I will take the physical challenge because I've already been through the emotional challenge.
I got a phone call from a very wealthy guy in Houston, Texas, and he said, I'm celebrating my 30th birthday, and my dad said I could either have a Maserati or we could do Double Dare Live. And I said, well, I hope you're taking the Maserati. And he goes, no, I want to do Double Dare Live.
Whoa!
So I I did Double Dare Live for 30 people in a ballroom in Orlando, Florida.
Was it awesome?
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Nicest people in the world.
Awesome.
But, you know, how do you turn down the Maserati? When...
Yeah, he's going to look back at that real quick. And I'm sure the next morning he was like,
I talk to him every now and then, and he still says it was the best thing.
Of course it was.
You know, I could never, kind of put my finger on it because I was in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And you're kind of in the same situation right now. So let's talk about your life.
Yeah.
I grew up knowing exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Okay. I came out of the womb watching variety television and tried to figure out, growing up in Indiana, how the hell do I get on stage and tell jokes and be funny? And I started off as a magician and sort of weaved my way into various things.
Right.
Came out to L.A. in 1973, and one thing happened after another. Growing up in Seattle, right?
Yeah.
Is Adam Ray your real name?
Yes.
Is it really?
Well, you just mentioned pre-show that about being Jewish. I don't know if that had anything to do with the temperature in here, but you brought it up, and immediately.
And I'm an old Jew, you know.
Spoken like a true Jew to immediately go, it's cold in here, is it not? And no, Ray, I'm Jewish too, and Ray is my dad's last name, but my mom is Jewish, and her maiden name is Brown, which came from Brovernik, which is Russian Jew.
But Ray and Brown, give me a break.
I did this joke maybe twice at an open mic at the Comedy Store, which, you know, it's cool that we both have that in our back pocket as our roots. But I would say, because a lot of people would ask, was Adam Ray your stage name? And I was like, no, my real name is, I'm Jewish. And like, oh, Ray's not a Jewish name. And I was like, well, it was Rabinowitz Matzah Ball Yarmulke Jew Bastard, but we shortened it to Ray or something because for Hollywood purposes. But yeah, I Seattle, born and raised, got bar mitzvahed, was a teaching assistant at my temple all the way from like, I think it's 8th grade through high school. I was,
really?
I guess, a madrik is what it's called, a teacher assistant to my mom's class. She taught kindergarten. And then I followed the same class all the way through high school. And then, like, they have now still, like, kept in touch. And it's weird to, like, have seen these kids I think when I left in high school, they were then in 4th or 5th grade. And they would come to, I did all the high school musicals in school. And so they would come out and see those. And
what was your first musical you did?
First one I did was The Cowardly Lion and the Wizard of Oz in 5th grade.
Nice.
But I was a very fat kid. And so I used to make jokes where I was like, it was the first time in the history of the story where the lion got to Oz and asked the wizard for ice cream cake. And he was like, you don't want courage? He's like, nah, I got low self-esteem and I'm going to eat my feelings. So just, if you got some fruit by the foots back there or something, you know. And my mom still says to this day, because I would watch the same way that I then played Danny Zuko in Grease my sophomore year of high school. I quit football to play that. And I wrote my college essay about that when I came down here to SoCal to go
famous Jews in football, famous Jews in show business. What do you think about that?
You never heard Great Tackle by Weinstein.
No, nor will you ever.
Nor will you ever, yeah. And so my mom says it was my best part to date because she says that I really had I think it was Bert Lahr who played the Cowardly Lion.
Yeah.
And I really nailed the, yeah. Like, I'm just a young fat kid who hasn't hit puberty. And I just really, if I was king of the footer, I had all that going on.
And did you love it?
I loved it. Right away. I was nervous as fuck. I remember that. But I remember it wasn't even like the the celebration and the adulation you get from like, oh, the crowd makes me feel alive. It was cool, but I really, and I mean this, I loved the rehearsal. I loved just the collaborative nature of it all. And that's today doing this Dr. Phil stuff. It's like I'm producing this variety show in a way where there's so many elements. It's last minute. I mean, you and I spoke, and we'll get into all that, the night before the show.
Yep.
And ran through more or less what we're going to do. And this is why it's so cool to even, I never closed the book entirely on like how the show's supposed to be like weeks in advance, because I needed it to be open. I need to always be open to like, what if we added that, and then figure it out.
Well, it seems pretty ad-lib the night I was there.
Well, the whole show is ad-lib. The only thing that is ever scripted is the first 2 moments when I come out and I go, tonight's show is all about perception. Webster's dictionary defines that as, the ability to see, hear, or be aware of something neat. And then, maybe you're struggling to be perceived as not a Nazi because your salutes in public are getting a little too Hitlery, even though you were just trying to be like, look, I love all people except the Jews. Well, tomato, tomato, Elon. But so I do a few jokes and then some crowd work and then the guests and then everything else is unscripted. So for you to jump in like we had on that phone call and to get it, first of all, was awesome. And to be pumped about it, double awesome. And then to be like, well, actually, if we were going to stay true to the Double Dare essence, which is what we did on the show, which is to this day, and we've had a lot of awesome moments, man. Top 3 for me, dude.
Really?
Oh my God. Because not only were you so goddamn funny, you made, I get so many comments about that. And it was so funny. And we had Jeremiah playing a kid.
Yes.
And the way that you just made it feel like the nostalgia factor was high. But you jumped in and you were like, I'm going to write some actual questions. Remember, we have to have this, and then it has to go back and forth.
Right.
Just reminded me of the show format, which I guess, in my head, I was like,
well, you're a kid. You probably don't remember, exactly what it was like. But, the thing about it was I was excited. I hadn't been in that room in probably 25 or 30
Extra
years.
special, yeah. And we talked about that.
Yeah,
which was
1976
cool.
is when I became a regular at the store.
Yeah.
And so fast forward the tape to 2024, and it had been quite a while. And I was a little nervous, but I think people don't expect the humor. Nobody knows I started off as stand-up.
Yeah.
And so to screw around, and the fact that you let me do what I do, and for some reason, when Marc Summers says the F word, people go out of their minds.
Bro, it was somebody, there's one moment where you're explaining the rules, and then we have video on this too, right?
Yes.
So I should send you the clip to like cut to, but it's like there was a moment where you explained what was going to happen, and then I was like, and Mark, make sure, and then they'll throw the ball in the helmet, and you go, duh, I just explained that, and I go, all right, I'm getting roasted by the host of Cake Wars, and you go, it's Unwrapped, bite me, bitch, or something. And just that back and forth was like, and people were loving it, dude. But that was after
it was so much fun.
A nice chat about like your history with the store, which we just had Jay Leno on, and he told this story. Where he was like, I went because I made some joke about OJ, and he goes, I actually went to see a screening of Jurassic Park with OJ, and I go, what the fuck? The floor is yours. And he was like, oh yeah, with me and Nicole were there. I go, Kidman. He's like, no, Brown Thimpton. And I go, did you get a sense that like was there a moment where like she didn't laugh and he was like, bitch, if you don't laugh, or if she was laughing, or she was like, these dinosaurs aren't even real, and he was like, you better stop talking shit or I'm gonna kill you in the next 2 days. And he was like, oh, now that I think about it, that did happen, but like
Jay's got stories about everything.
But he hadn't been to the store
every
either.
Human.
Totally. But just like you, he hadn't been to the store in 30 plus years.
Really?
So it was wild to see both you guys take it in, and also. And he very hilariously he was like it looks like I got out of TV at just the right time, because he's like I wonder what Robin Williams would think looking at this bullshit,
Well, that was it. See, the main room at the time was like only the creme de la creme, and so after the strike, for some reason Missy put me in there as an MC, so I used to MC those nights with Robin and Dave and all those folks. And
how quickly do you hearken back to that? Like, can you just immediately just have fond memories and see all that and like be back in the green room and like
100%.
Robin, like was he milling about nervous or was he just like...
Robin was never nervous. No. The one thing you didn't ever want to have happen in the original room is he was doing the Tonight Show the night before, and this happened to me more than once, where he'd say, hey, Mark, I'm doing the Tonight Show tomorrow. Can I do 5 minutes? Well, Robin doesn't know how to do 5 minutes. He knows how to do an hour and 5 minutes. So my line always after the fact was, so he'd say, no, I'll get off quickly. Well, of course he never did. And the audience was insane after he was done.
Yeah.
And when he walked off stage, everybody would leave. And then they'd
They're
say,
Yeah.
the comedy of Marc Summers, and my opening line was, "Oh, thanks, a walking ovation," because they didn't. Who could follow him?
Yeah, no.
Nobody could.
Yeah.
And Dave was Dave, and Leno always killed, and it was a magical place to be. I tell you, who used to play that room all the time was Richard Pryor. Okay, I saw Pryor so many times in that room, and
brought him up, yeah.
yeah, and Andy Kaufman was always there. Not as Andy usually, but
Did you get to know him outside of?
I went to college with him.
What?
Yeah, Graham Junior College in Boston.
Wow.
So I go back that far with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
His nephew, I was just down at the Super Bowl doing a show as Phil with Nikki Glazer and Bird and Shane Gillis, and his nephew came up to me at a party and goes, "Hey, I'm Andy's nephew, and on behalf of me and the family, because this Phil thing has been fun and it's opened up. I've done a handful of other characters now, and like that's always been something SNL was always a dream of mine, and I just always loved to take just try to just pretend, but then also the actor in me has really enjoyed the challenge of trying to make characters like that feel real and believable. And even with the Phil, it's obviously character, but I feel like I'm really doing an okay job at keeping it grounded to where you and I can chat like that, and you're not having to go through another filter in your brain.
Oh, not
like
at
Martin
all.
Short when he did Jiminy Glick was hilarious, but clearly a larger than life.
Yeah.
Didn't feel totally like a real person, right? But I always want what I'm doing to feel like they can still connect with people. And so he mentioned to me, and for what it's worth, he was like, "Man, myself am a fan, and I've gotten my family on a bunch of your shit, and he's like, dude, Andy would dig what you're doing, basically." And he was like, "It's cool that the way you take on all these personalities and bring them to life is what he loved to do."
I know his nephew. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes. I want to say Kyle, but maybe or Skylar or
yeah, something like that. Yeah, but
could find
when
it.
they were trying to raise money for Andy Starr, he called me, and I've known him forever. But what you do is not performance art. So wait a minute, step back.
Please.
You said Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
So which person on Saturday Night Live did you go, "Oh my God, that's amazing, and I'd love to be a part of that someday"?
Man, probably the first one I saw was Belushi. That my dad showed me a best of John Belushi, and just seeing he was versatile and the silliness I really was attracted to. And then I'd say, like everybody, they have their, but I didn't know that comedy. I think I was watching with more of a young, just whoa, this guy's just silly because he's big and funny, making wild faces. The physicality I loved, and then
You kind of look goofy,
Totally. And then once I got into, and Dan Aykroyd as well, and then once I got to a place where I was interested in this, I guess middle school, high school especially, then it was Farley, Sandler, Will Ferrell, big time. And then later on, guys like Bill Hader, Will Forte, guys that are just
Hader, amazing.
Yeah, just do not only the impressions but like characters, and just I guess we're taking chances too. Yeah, I didn't know yet what I know now about the show is how competitive it is, and how
Very.
How there really is. You got to match up with writers that dig you, that know your voice and sensibility. But I guess I really am a big fan of people that just are fearless. And Will Ferrell just was oozing that to me through the screen. Where I was like, there's no way you just, especially with that, you do your rehearsals and your table reads, but like doing it live is still it could go great or it could not. And anybody, and you have this too, where, you jump out into that knowing that, and that is something that is an acquired skill set and takes reps to get to a place to where you are comfy enough, but it's also in you or it's not,
Well, doing stand-up, I would work the Comedy Store, and I'd say 50-50. Sometimes I'd kill, and sometimes I was like a painting on the wall. They didn't get it.
Yeah.
The Improv I never did well. I always find it to be the hardest room I've ever worked. But we had a place called the Laugh Stop out in Newport Beach.
Oh, wow.
I opened for Gallagher, okay? You could do no wrong there, no matter what you did. So whenever I had to try out new material, I would go to the Laugh Stop because I wasn't nervous. They just reacted. I don't know if it was the makeup of the room.
You were outside of the Hollywood scene for a minute, maybe?
Maybe.
Yeah.
It was killer. And so you never knew from time to time, although there were guys like Leno, I never saw bomb. Letterman, I never saw bomb.
Right.
Robin, I never saw bomb. There are certain guys who every time they walked on that stage, they just kicked ass. I, unfortunately, wasn't one of those guys, and I knew quickly that comedy was not for me. So when did you start doing stand-up?
2007.
How old were you?
I graduated college in 2005, so I'm 42 now. So what's the quick math on that? 20, 25, 18 years.
18 years.
So 20, fuck, 24? Is that
Get the
feels
man a
right.
calculator, would you please?
That feels right.
Boy, you're the only Jewish guy who can't do math. I just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you're 24, and where were you, in
24.
Seattle?
No, so I did like 2 open mics in Seattle before I moved down to Los Angeles.
So you were going to USC.
Yeah, I was in the acting school at USC. So I came here to be an actor, but knew that SNL people had stand-up backgrounds. So at some point I was like, I want to do that. And then graduated in 05, and I'd done
Groundlings. Did you go over there?
Yeah, I went to the Groundlings and UCB and loved that. And I was doing, the theater school was great. But then, like, Henry Winkler came and spoke to our acting class probably a week before he graduated.
What did he say?
He really, first of all, I met Henry. His son, Max, is a good friend of mine, and we were in the same fraternity at A Pi, the Jew frat, and smoked weed out of a shofar and a hold for applause. And so, really did, actually. And it was a bad idea.
You really?
Yeah, it was a bad idea. And didn't just.
Tequila.
And, tequila Doritos. Yeah. And then I would get to know Max through that. And Henry came for Parents Weekend, and he walked in one day. It was my first time meeting him. And I'd never met a celebrity at this point. I've been, 2 years into L.A. I think I met Larry King at the Grove. That's
so you still hadn't met a celebrity.
Yeah. I actually was baked out of my mind seeing a movie, and I walked out to get more snacks, and he's at the automated snack machine.
Sacramento.
I go, holy shit, Larry King. He goes, how are you? And he's with a young kid, and I go, great, man. I go, getting some snacks. He goes, what gave you that idea? And I go, oh, I don't know, man. And then I go, what movie are you guys seeing? And he just looks up and goes, I'm with my nephew, do you mind? And I go, not at all. I just got interviewed by Larry King.
Oh, my God.
And then he did not laugh, and I turned around and walked back, and my buddy was like, where are the snacks? I was like, I met Larry King. He's like, you forgot the fucking snacks. And so Henry walks in with a bag of laundry, and he goes, excuse me. And I was just like, holy shit, the Fonz. And he goes, do you live here? And I go, yes. He goes, my son, Max. I go, yeah, I'm Henry. I go, I know who you are. He goes, of course you do. I have a bag of laundry for my son, Max. I need it to get to the right hands. Can you take it for me? And I go, yeah, I got it. And he pulls back and he goes, you're not going to shit on it, are you? And
Did
I go,
he really?
what? I swear to God. We've talked about this since. And he goes, I go, what? He goes, I know it's a fraternity. I know you guys do crazy stuff. No one's going to poop on my son's clothes, are they? I go, Henry, you have the Adam Ray guarantee that no feces will end up on your son's clothes. He goes,
wow.
We're in a fraternity. I know there's a lot of ragamuffin, rambunctious acts, and I would love no shit on my son's clothes. And I go, you have the Adam Ray guarantee. He goes, all the best.
That's hysterical.
And then I ended up interning for him at Hollywood Squares, and he became a little bit of a mentor for me. And but anyway, so
he changed my life in many ways.
Please, and I'll get back to my bullshit.
I knew him. We did telethons together, and we always ran into each other. And he had produced actually a game show that I was doing for Game Show Network.
That's a Power Network.
Yeah.
Or a Power Combo, you and Henry.
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I was hosting a talk show in New York and walked in one day and got fired. And
why?
We weren't delivering the numbers. I was hosting a sort of a how-to show called Our Home. And they thought I would be better. There was this woman, her name was Sissy Biggers, and she was doing a talk show. And they put us together for a week, and the ratings went up. So they took me off the other show, cut my salary in half, and promised that if the show did well, they'd put us in syndication. Well, it never worked. And I walked in one day, and they pulled the plug. Now, it was one of those deals where the contract was great, and I got paid for the rest of the year for not doing anything, which, love those gigs.
Of course.
But I was lower than whale poop, as they say. And I came home, and I have to this day no idea why I did it. I picked up the phone and called Henry. And I said, Henry, I'm lower than whale shit. I don't know what to do. And he said, come over and see me. So I went over to his office, and he sat with me for like a half hour, picked my brain, and he said, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go spend time with your family. Go on a little trip. Go throw the ball with your son. What's your daughter like to do? I said, she likes theater. Okay, go do some theater stuff. Everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Just chill. And when you least expect it, the phone's going to ring. And it's all going to be good. And he was right. But I needed somebody to sort of grab me by the throat and go, just chill, man. It's show business. It isn't always perfect. They're still paying you. And you know, and I've never forgotten that. And he had no reason to do that.
Yeah.
It's not like we were close personal friends.
Oh, really?
But he was nice enough to say, just come over to my office. You know, I was over at Arch Deli not too long ago. He was sitting over in a booth by himself. I went over and, you know, hung out and talked to him. He's just, there's nobody better.
Yeah. Selfless and really gives a fuck about people and, you know, knows that there's a space for everybody.
Yeah, but I can't get him on this podcast.
well, let me help bridge the gap.
Just
don't poop on a son's clothes.
No.
That's maybe why. You got
okay,
poop
so
face.
you're doing stand-up. You did a couple times in Seattle.
A couple times in Seattle just to kind of get to L.A. For whatever reason, I had this idea that starting in L.A. was just, it was overwhelming. But I did. I ended up starting at the store. But I did it a few times at a comedy club in Seattle called Giggles, which then was bought out, turned into a strip club for a minute, and they just kept the marquee, and then it turned into Jiggles, and then went back to Giggles. And so then graduated from the theater school. Did a show right after college, but didn't want to spend 3-4 months in a play. I wanted to hit the ground running. And Henry was, you know, one of the things he told our class was, you know, you got to will and create your own opportunities and you know, will all these things to life. And so he was like, work at a casting office, do this, do that. So I was working for a big comedy casting office 5-6 days a week for free, and working at Universal Studios as a tour guide on the tram, and then shooting YouTube videos and doing open mics and writing sketches and just trying to, you know, writing movie, just trying to do it all and feel like I just needed to start doing. But there was no real prep for that out of theater school. They're just kind of like, you graduate and you have this theater degree.
Yeah, now what?
And you have, you know, and then you're thinking, oh, wait, you know, you walk into a CSI Miami audition and they're like, cool, you were in a play called Vinegar Tom. Who gives a fuck? You know, and you're like, yeah, I was pretty good in it. And you're like, yeah, great. Did you tape it? Probably not. And so then I just needed to, you know, really wrap myself around the idea of I just need to get reps, and time is my best friend. And so I would do these open mics at the Comedy Store and the Laugh Factory and Improv and the Ha-Ha. And I did a few in college, a few like frat parties that I've got tapes of. One I remember, I mean, so delusional to where I rehearsed and practiced in front of my buddy Mike Brynas, one of my best friends who's seen me from then till now, and just, you know, just a great supporter of it all. And I would rehearse 30 minutes to 45 that I, in front of these bands, they're like, do 30 minutes. You know, so I'd practice 45. And I'd run through it all with Mike and while he's doing his laundry in the frat and laughing or not, you know, he doesn't know shit from shit, but other than his comedic sensibility. And he's like, man, maybe don't do that. You don't need that. That story about the Charlie Brown teacher is 20 minutes too long. And I would get up there and these parties would run late and the band was late and the party would start late. And I'd go up and instead of having the wherewithal to be like, maybe do 7 minutes because the everything is behind and people are here for the fucking band. I was like, I practiced 30, I'm doing 30. And man, loud. The frat was loud. I'm screaming my bits. And then I remember finally, and it was bad, and all my buddies are there watching, and I remember some of them like laughing because they're fucked up and being like, I can't believe he's up there. But more often than not, I just remember clocking looks of guys like being like, just so nervous for me and like, I can't believe you're doing that. And for whatever reason, that gave me a little bit of
going though. Man.
Yeah, totally. And then I remember I got a few laughs because at one point there were like just these drunk girls and this dude up on the balcony, and I remember just singling them out. And for whatever reason, 400 or 500 people in this frat, quiet. And I got a couple zingers in on them, and they screamed some shit back. And it was my first real taste of doing some crowd work. And whatever I did, boom, 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 shut them down, big laugh. And should have just left on that.
Yeah.
But then was like, you know, like you do, you double down. And now I'm like, all right, that just earned me 15 more minutes. And then, you know, back to eating shit. But needing to
leave
do
them wanting more. That's what they always say.
Totally. Yeah. But I got a bug for it. And I think.
Did you become a regular at the Comedy Store?
Yeah. I worked phones there for about 4 years and then got passed in 2010 or 11. And
so Mitzi was still there.
Mitzi saw me showcase, and Tommy Morris was the booker at the time. And Bobby Lee had seen me in the belly room and went up to Tommy and was like, hey, you should let this guy showcase. And he was like, well, we'll see. He's got to be around more, you know. So I started coming around on the Sunday, Monday potlucks, and then figured I should get a job there because I really dug the sense of community that was there. I'm sure it was, you know, you felt that when you were there.
Oh, yeah.
It's just.
Argus Hamilton was there when I was there.
Isn't that wild?
And
still hilarious,
yes,
man.
Very
it's
funny man.
Wild.
Yeah, very funny man.
Since 76 and to be writing, I'm just always turned on by the fact of people that are just still And even for you to come out, Mark, and still like be ripping it like that and be funny on that stage has got to give you juice. I mean, I'm sure
Well,
you
it does.
Yeah.
I mean, we all come out wanting to do one thing.
Yeah.
And I always figured, if it worked out, I got to plan D or E, I'd be happy. I just wanted to be in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
When I came out in 1973, like a bunch of other people, we thought Johnny was going to be done by then, and we all wanted Johnny's job. Well, it took a lot longer after that, but I was a good host. I was great being Marc Summers. I just wasn't that funny. And
But you were a funny host.
I was a funny host, but it's a whole different,
I hear what you're saying, yeah.
kind of thing. Because when you're a host, you're making the stars and the contestants important, and you got to know when Peter Marshall was the king of that on Hollywood Squares. He made everybody else look great.
Yeah.
But that's an art.
Yeah.
And Bob Barker was great because he knew how to make the contestants the stars.
Yeah.
He taught me that. They're the stars, not you.
Did you not know Bob?
Oh, I worked with him, sure. My first job was writing Truth or Consequences the last year he hosted it, and then I worked for a production company. I could tell you hours and hours of Bob Barker stories.
My two favorite game shows,
Price,
and Double Dare.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
No joke. And you can ask anybody who knows me, if given the chance, I would stop Dr. Phil. I would stop stand-up for as long as I needed to host either one of those.
Boy, when we go to lunch, when you get back from this next gig, I'll tell you stories about Barker, and I'll destroy every image that you have in your mind.
Oh, I bet you will.
Oh,
Holy shit.
Yeah, what you saw wasn't necessarily what
Like
you
the
got.
Showcase Showdown happened after the show ended as well, and it was.
I'll tell you one story, your head will explode. But nonetheless, I mean, it's an art doing stand-up and knowing when to get on and when to get off. So you became a regular, and as a regular, that meant I normally got Tuesday nights at 12:45.
Oh yes, always started late because, as the booker I think so swiftly observed, I was still very showy and big and presentational, and he was like, "You gotta 12:45, even 1:15." Now they don't go till 2 a.m. like they did then.
Oh,
but
they don't.
No, I think now it's 9 to about 12, maybe 12:30, maybe in the
Really?
OR.
That's it.
But late, so there'd be sometimes 6 people or 30 and sometimes 2, and you're like, do you guys just want to go back to my apartment and we can do it there?
Lovers and drunks.
Yeah. And what Tommy, good on him for realizing is I needed to, he's like, you just got to talk to people, man. You're talking at them. You got to talk to them. You're not connecting. And he's like, sit down on the stool sometimes and and really settle yourself, because I was just, just and good energy, which I still feel like I'm is a part of my act, but I wasn't connecting, for lack of a better word. And so those late spots forced me to do it. And it's also, though, where, to his credit, sometimes I would go up at 1:15 after 3.5 hours of show. And I'm like, there's 20 people still here. They're laughing. You get there, 12, sometimes earlier, to watch everybody. And how's the crowd? Oh, they're good. And then all of a sudden you're like, fuck, there's 80 people here. And then 50 leave right before you go up because they've been there for 3 hours.
Yep.
And I'm like, all right, there's no way they want to see more. They've seen and heard everything at this point.
Well, they have. And back in the day when I started, people were just starting to swear on stage.
Oh, wow.
But then it got out of control. Okay. Now, the fact that Leno never told a dirty joke, Letterman never told a dirty joke, Robin was suggestive but never.
Super blue.
Yeah. Never was. And I remember, you probably don't even know who this is. There was a singer who was very popular. His name was Perry Como.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So Perry Como was looking for an opening act. And
a lot of singers were at that point,
right?
right?
You'd open for Stephen Eady, or you've
Julio
opened for,
Iglesias and stuff.
all those guys. Tom Jones, Engelbert Humperdinck, all those
Sinatra
guys.
even, right? Didn't
Sinatra.
Dreesen open for Sinatra?
Yeah, Tom
right?
for like 15 years did that. And, Tom was the godfather when I was at the Comedy Store. So, what can I tell you? Once again, one of the nicest guys ever.
Yeah.
But, Dreesen ended up opening for Perry Como because he was squeaky clean.
Yeah.
And that's what they were looking for. And when Macaulay or any of the guys from Tonight Show would come, they tell you, you can tell all that, dirty stuff as long as you want. Johnny's never going to see you. So you had to make choices. And, Pryor was massive. And a lot of people tried to emulate, Richard.
Of course.
But Richard was Richard. And he was unique. And by the way, he could go on Johnny. He didn't do, Buddy Hackett could go on Johnny. If you went to see his Vegas act, every other word was something that would, make your head spin.
Yeah.
So you had to know when to get in and when to get out, and what you had to do, and what was your goal, what was your point of view.
And what I realized quickly too was when you're there in those late spots, and once you get better spots and there's a crowd and comics that you respect are in the room,
Yeah.
it is
That's
again
key, by the way.
Totally. And a tough thing where you're like, I still got to use the stage for me. And I think I was so concerned about doing well for the book or even late night. And finally there was a shift and I go, again, there's 6 people here. They've seen everything. I've got all these wigs and mustaches and stuff from my sketches I've been doing during the day. And so I was like, I'm going to do a character. So I had this wig and a cowboy hat and these glasses and a leather jacket and a goatee, and I spirit gummed all this stuff on. And I was like, I'm going to do this and Jeff Scott, R.I.P., was the keyboard there player for 30 years. He'd play people up and play them down. And he and I go, Jeff, I'm going to do this character where I'm like a lounge singer that used to travel with all these bands. And now he's retired, but he's got
Gary
stories.
Mulder?
Who now?
Gary Mulder.
Who's that?
Oh, you don't know Gary?
No.
Gary's 80 years old. He's still doing stand-up. I saw him open for George Carlin in Boston in 1972.
Oh, my God.
Okay, and he's still working. You know who he works with? Johnny Mathis.
Wow.
Yeah, who's 89.
And still probably sharp and stories for days.
Funny as hell.
Yeah, so a guy like that. And Jeff would play and I'd tell stories and drink and then sometimes go into a song. And I got, coming from musical theater, I got to have a pretty good ear. So Jeff and I, sometimes he would just go into something and then I would go from a story and then start singing the story.
How funny.
And then start laughing and it would crush for 6 people or 30 at 1 a.m. or whatever. And
Nice.
Tommy was like, look what you're doing. You're finding. He was really supportive of it. And then I started doing it as me, where I would sing some of my sets and then improvise crowd works songs the whole set. And then he put me up a little earlier sometimes, and it would crush. And then I got to a point to where when I started to headline in 2013, I would bring a buddy around. I'd do my hour of stand up, and then crowd work peppered in throughout 10, 15 minutes throughout the whole show. He would come up at the end. And we would go back and do improvised songs on some of that crowd work or new stuff. And we got to a point to where it was the stand-up, people would not remember anything prior to that, which was a blessing and a curse because it was finding a way to separate yourself as not only a comic, but a white comic. And it wasn't a guitar thing. It wasn't just going up singing covers. But then I was just blowing my voice out after, 5 shows and singing and then drinking and whatever. But that was also another skill set that fed into what the Phil Show is, which is, character work, podcasting for 15 years, acting, improv.
But you got to put in the time.
Yeah.
And most people don't want to put in the time.
Yeah.
The odds of coming here, Letterman, I knew him in Indianapolis a little bit because we were both from. He was hysterical doing the weather, and he had this late night show it was a 4H show.
It's like public access or what?
No, it was on the ABC affiliate, but it was like 1 a.m, Saturday night, Sunday morning. But he did it. He did talk radio. In fact, I was working when I was 15 years old at a station in Elwood, Indiana, WBMP, and I worked 6 to 11 on Saturdays and Sundays. And I couldn't drive, and the guy who was driving me up there lost his job, and so I couldn't, figure a way to get up there. And Letterman took my place.
Wow.
That was in, how old was I? 51, 60, like 67 is when Dave took my place. So, the guys who are successful for the most part do their work.
Yeah. And there's no like, you do this, you get this, it happens.
No.
But you have to get down here or wherever, and you have to start. You don't know that truly until you start doing it. But you also have to be delusional enough, like yourself, me, Dave, to just start doing stuff. And that's.
I was 34 before I got Double Dare.
Wow.
Okay? 34.
I'm 42, but this last year has been. But look, and I'm sure you're the same way. Like, I've gotten movies and TV shows and bit parts and some bigger. And at one point I had that TBS show and then Mad TV, the reboot on CW. And I was playing a manager on my buddy Joey McIntyre from New Kids on the Block, had a Curb Your Enthusiasm style show about his life on Pop TV. So I was acting, I was hosting, and I was doing sketch all in 1 year, and they all went away the next year.
Hey, listen, last year I did an off-Broadway show for 6 months called The Life and Slimes of Marc Summers. And then I just started my first movie for Hallmark, at 72.
Wow.
And so...
You're 72. What's your Noxema? What's your secret?
Actually, I just turned 73.
Let's go.
It's crazy how it just happens, and you have no control over it.
You have to control what you can control.
Well, that's it. I wanted to do a one-man show, and through a quirky amount of events, found the right people at the right time. I was doing Grease in Long Beach Island, New Jersey, and
who'd you play? Kaneki?
No, I played the DJ.
The beauty school dropout cat. No, wait, no, the
Why can't I think of the name?
Oh,
of
the
kid?
DJ. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you did. Yeah, I know. Yes.
It was a perfect
great
role
part.
for me. Yeah,
Great
it was
part.
a great part
Yeah.
for me. So, I ran into somebody who met somebody who taught me some stuff and then introduced me to the right people. We write the show. We do it in Bloomington, Indiana. We do it at the Adirondack Theater Festival. COVID happens. Everything goes, to shit. And then we bring it back a couple of years ago, and I was performing it in Buffalo, New York, and Mrs. Doubtfire Tour opened next to us, in the theater next to us. And the director of the Doubtfire Tour, unbeknownst to me, came to see the show. And he said to me, have you ever thought about doing the show in New York? And I said, every day of my life, but I don't know anybody. And he said, I do. And 6 months later, I was off Broadway.
What the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
How many stories are there like that?
Yes.
That's...
I mean,
mazel, dude.
The fact that why was he there that night? And he said, because people
and
say,
a fan, and he was a fan, so that's why he went to
grew
go
up
see
watching,
the show.
Exactly.
Dude.
And it's just right place, right time.
Yeah,
but then the way I got the movie was casting director from Hallmark came in to see the one-man show, and a few months later calls me and says, we have a movie here we think you'd be great to be in. And I said, yeah, I don't act. And she said, I just saw you do a one-man show. And I said, well, I was playing me. She said, no, you can do it. And son of a gun, I did it, and I was a lead.
Was it fun?
Oh, I had a ball. It was, first of all, doing the movie was a lot easier doing the one-man show. When you're on stage by yourself for an hour and a half,
yes.
That's one thing.
Yes.
But, you do a movie, you shoot 8 pages, and you shoot it over and over and over and over again for 14 hours.
Yeah.
Then you go home, and you learn the lines for the next day.
Yeah.
But you have a plethora of people around you.
It's hurry up and wait.
Yes.
Are.
And so that was a lot easier.
So it was a Hallmark. Was it like a very Hanukkah Christmas?
It was called Hanukkah on the Rocks, and I played a Jewish grandfather, Sam Rosen.
God, Sam, dude.
Yeah.
Send me a link to that show. I'll watch it with my mom over Zoom.
You'll quell. So tell me how the Dr. Phil thing happened.
So look, they're again always wanting to do a live character show, right?
Why?
I love so once I got that bug for being on stage, whether it was for plays, that's why I started doing stand up. Was once I realized I didn't want to do a 3-4 month play, I was like, well, I love that live fix. I do love the interaction with the crowd. I've never been somebody, and that's why crowd work is such a big part of who I am on and off stage. Used to me striking up a conversation with anybody because
you're lonely.
We'll be right back. I like, yeah. And I just want to break the fourth wall when I'm on stage. I don't like to feel like I'm not, like Tommy said, like connecting. And so I started thinking of what show would I want to do if I could make my own show. And I always liked when Will Ferrell did his George Bush one-man show, John Mulaney, Nick Kroll did the Oh Hello as the two old Jews in New York. I was like, man, I would love to do something like that. And then I finally decided to throw some money into a show. What show would I want to do if I could make my own show? And so I was like, playing like multiple characters, Eddie Murphy, Nutty Professor style, in a dysfunctional family. So I had 3 days, and we got a bunch of favors, and I played an old grandma medium and a guy in a fat suit, bald head, who was the dad of the young man boy, nerdy kid, who I also played. And the dad left the mom and kid and became a gay hairstylist. I played them 3. I got Joel McHale, David Koechner, Ron Funches, and Thomas Lennon to be in it. Curb style, I beat it out everything for them and just go, give me 2 hours. We improvised up a storm with some of the funniest shit I've ever done. It was amazing. Joel McHale, I go, you're Jeremy, this young kid with braces, wearing Joel McHale's shirt. Dinner at Ocean Prime in Beverly Hills. Won a contest to have dinner with Joel McHale, and that's what's up. And so he's sitting there being like, wow, can't believe I'm here with Joel McHale. And Joel's like, yeah. I go, Joel, you're just playing snarky Joel McHale. You don't want to be here. And that's it.
That's it.
That night, I'm in this fat suit. And a friend of mine, Carly Craig, who was on Mad TV with me, she was like, hey, you look like Dr. Phil. So I go, I should go to the club this night. We did 4 hours of makeup for this and get a little more content out of it. So I hit up Jolie's at the factory. I go, I'm going to pop by. Will you let them know? And I'm going to do a set as Dr. Phil. I go up.
Now, had you ever done a Dr. Phil impression?
I'd done a light impression on the Adam Carolla show here and there. So I'd never also done a full makeup character on stage. So nerves are high because it's new. I'm not me. And I was more comfortable as me at that point. I've 15 years into stand-up than I am just trying to do a character. And so...
Did they introduce you as Dr. Phil?
Yes. And people went nuts. And I ripped. And I was loose. And
Had you planned anything?
No. So I was improvising.
So what'd you go out and do? What was your opening?
I go, keep it going for Joel McHale. That's a guy. And even my voice was like way higher too. Keep it going really more like that. And just character and cartoony. And not as grounded as it is now.
Yeah,
Mark,
it's pretty
now I can
right
look
on.
at you, Mark, and go, I didn't come 90% of the way to get 10% of the information. But at that time, I'd be like, Joel McHale, everybody, that's a guy who's failed or has succeeded because he's failed more than he's tried, you know? And I just said, like, I was just like, I'll say some Phil-isms, you know? And then I did some crowd work, and then I did a couple, like, internet jokes that I had done for a character I did at the store. You know, why does Dr. Pepper come in a bottle? Because his wife died. And so dumb shit like that. And then COVID hit.
Still works.
Yeah, still works. Still funny. Not going to not laugh.
That's right.
And then COVID hits, and my friend Jeremiah Watkins, who played the kid in the Double Dare bit, he plays a different character every show. We did the show at the Beacon in New York. He played a pie, and Jason Biggs from American Pie was on the show.
No.
And he was unbelievable. Shout out to Jason Biggs. Not only one of the most committed guys, one of the most locked-in actors I've ever been around, and down to clown, just like you, man.
Well, let me digress here for 2 seconds.
Please.
How do you get all these people to come and do the show?
Jason Biggs, this is what's great about comedy now. It's in a fun place. But, man, I told myself at some point I have to, again, control what I can control. And if I'm filming all this stuff, I'm bringing a guy to tape my stand-up on the road, cutting clips, investing in myself, you know? Mm-hmm. And sometimes to the chagrin of my wife, now we're fine because we just bought a house, but she was just like, man, is there a way to balance this out a bit more? I mean, you're flying this makeup gal to do these character shows, and you're doing this all the time, and it's like you're spending more than we're making. And I'm like, I know, it's just I gotta do it. I did this before you, and it's the only way to do it. I get one shot at this. I have to go all in on it. So posting clips and this and that, and you get random people that are online, and your shit's going through TikTok or Instagram, and I'm trying to be pretty, not prolific, but just active with putting up content and having a variety of stuff. Yeah. I appreciate it. So Biggs followed me and saw some, so I hit him up on Instagram. And
that's how I meet so many people.
Me too. I hit up Michael Bublé on a Hail Mary, and he was like, big fan. I'd love to do the show. So now I'm just trying to figure it out with him. Yeah.
Yeah, we had Jordan Klepper here last week. And
Love Jordan Klepper.
Yeah, and same thing. I find him on social media. I said, I'm going to be in New York. Let me take you to lunch. And we've been hanging since then, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and dude, you got to shoot your shot.
Yeah.
And you more than
me. All I can say is no.
Yeah, who gives? Yeah, and then, okay. You know what I'm saying? You know, Larry King didn't want to have popcorn with me in the lobby, and that's his loss. Yeah. But, you know, R.I.P. So he... So I hit him up and go, big fan, and I have a podcast. And the same way that I use for like business things, if I meet somebody, you know, come to a stand-up show. It's a great come hang and see me in my element, and also it's a great hang always. So I go, love to have you on the podcast. He's like, I'm in New York, but anytime. You know, I'm a fan of all your shit. And I'm like, I'm actually going to be there 2 days for shows. I swear I'm not stalking you. He's like, can you do Wednesday? We did it. And just like any sort of thing, 2 hours later, we're buds, you know? And then...
who would you like to get that you haven't gotten yet so far?
Oh, man, Conan.
Really?
Without a doubt. Conan is, and I'll immediately follow that up with Letterman. I feel like Letterman is at a place where he is so silly and so interested in like, I mean, I'm sure you watch his Netflix, the interview shows.
Oh, yeah.
He's just still so sharp and funny, and I think he, much like yourself, much like Bill Burr, even Leno, gets it and just was down to play. And that's all the show requires is like, treat me like Phil and be down. Will Ferrell, obviously. Tom Hanks is one of my favorite actors of all time.
Have you tried to get any of these people?
I threw Hanks a DM, Hail Mary. I threw...
Did he get back to you?
Nope. Left me on scene. Ryan Reynolds followed me one day. I hit him up, but he's going through some stuff right now, but we'll see. But so Biggs comes out to New York and or comes to the show, and I go, much like with you, the night before, he goes, so what am I doing again? And I go, you're going to come out and interview. At one point, I'm going to go, so you kept in touch with a lot of the cast members. Sean William Scott, Stifler's mom is on White Lotus. You kept in touch, and I love that you find a way to stay connected to your friends. One person you didn't, though, is actually here to settle the score. Please welcome the Pie from American Pie. And Jeremiah comes out in a outfit that Steven Hauser, our sound guy and costume savant, built.
Wow.
With whipped cream to squirt out of it.
Oh, my.
So Jeremiah comes out, and everyone's going nuts, and Jason's like, hey, good to see you. And this is what I worked out with him the night before, and he was like, I'm down. Basically, there I go, you guys are going to reconnect, fuck on a bed that we bring out as the curtain rolls up, and I got Johnny Resnick, who's a buddy of mine from the Goo Goo Dolls, to come out and play Iris and sing it as they bone on the bed.
And he was for it, huh? Not a
he
problem.
was like, great. He's like, we should probably kiss, right? I go, yeah. I go, run that by Jeremiah. But so he grabs...
run that by Jeremiah.
They grab each other's hands, and Jeremiah goes, it's good to see you, at the Pie. And Jason goes, I'm sorry I never called. He goes, it's fine. I've seen your movies. Congrats, you know? And then Jason goes and like rubs I goes, these are all the beats you got to hit. Rub, do this, move her hair out of the way, get some whipped cream on you, and take a lick and go, I forgot how good you taste. And then Jeremiah's going to go, let me refresh your memory. And then Johnny starts playing, and I'd give up forever to touch you. Curtain raises, we wheel a bed out. So we spend, during the day, we do a walkthrough, and we did like a tech run through of timing it out of like, these crew guys at the Beacon coming, striking the chairs, curtain rolling up. They wheel a bed out. We had on the screen a fake fireplace that was going.
Crackling
and then,
in the back.
Yeah, totally. Then Johnny comes out, and they go to town, and Jason ripping his shirt off. They going down, making out, then just boning. Then he's going down the pie. Then the whipped cream squirting out as Johnny's laughing as he's singing. So I have to jump in and start. We get the whole crowd singing. And I don't want the word. And then at the end, Jeremiah's like, you want sloppy seconds, Dr. Phil? I'm like, no, I'm on Atkins, And then he's like, and then the whole crowd starts chanting, 3,000 people, fuck that pie.
Really?
Fuck that pie.
Seriously?
So then I go drop the mic and I grab Jeremiah and start kissing him. And then Jason Biggs, like a goddamn pro, runs back on and goes, stay away from her.
Oh, my.
And then we start fake fighting and we have all these fake punch sound effects. And then we do that and
That's
then we end the show.
fantastic.
So every show has like all these little elements like that. And putting it together is the real challenge of it, but also what's scary about it. And this is what I loved about what the Oh Hello show was just there were so many different elements to the show, and it's all on you. And once we did that first one with Bill Burr, that like you were asking, came from Jeremiah and I, who played the pie during COVID. We're like, we got to flex some creative muscles. So I was like, what about we do some Lost Dr. Phil episodes? I haven't done it really yet. I did that one time on stage, and he plays multiple characters. So we did like 15 Lost episodes where he had a billionaire guy or a Starbucks barista, or he would play a woman. And we'd do 2 hours and we'd improvise and put 40 minutes on YouTube. And then COVID ends. We're back to action. I'm not really doing it. And then the actor strike hits, and I'm like, all right, now it's stand-up and podcasts, and now I'm not waiting around to be in other people's shit anymore. And that really shined a big light on, all right, I
if you want something, you got to go at, my opening line, I used to lecture at colleges a lot. I don't so much anymore. And my opening line was, nobody got up this morning and said, I got to go get Marc Summers a job today, okay? If you want that job, you got to go get it.
Yeah.
And there was a Broadway show called Gutenberg.
About Steve Gutenberg?
No, it was about, it was Josh Gad and... I can't.
Oh yeah, the kid from
they both did
Book of Mormon.
Yes, okay, and they had a walk-on part, and every night it was some big thing. Okay, well, I wanted to do that more than life itself, and it was about 3-4 weeks before our show opened, and I called somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody, and I got it.
No way,
and
dude!
And to go on and do that with Gad and
because they would have like Billy Crystal and Sarah Jessica Parker,
everybody,
cool,
you name
man.
it, and so I got to do that, and it was like, holy shit,
that's awesome.
That was, but. They weren't looking for me. I had to, and luckily, all those people grew up watching me, and you get to do that stuff. And when I was there early, they both came down to their dressing rooms and were like, fawning. And I don't know the impact that Double Dare had until I walk into those situations. And all the people who are like stars now grew up watching me.
That's fucking wild.
I know. It's
out of sight, out of mind, too, right?
Yes.
It's not like they weren't thinking of. Like you just had to remind them, like, oh, I'm
here still here.
And
I'm
they're
still
like,
working.
oh yeah,
yeah,
and you're sharp as shit.
So it's just crazy as hell. So the first time you did it, like for real,
was last September. So
that
it's
was
only
it?
been a year, yeah. And really, what happened was when the strike hit, it just again it shined a big light on like, what am I doing? I feel like I have more to offer than just waiting around to let someone else put them in their shit. Yeah, and I was doing these Adam Ray and Friends shows at the Comedy Store. But then a lot of people started doing and Friends shows. So then it just put me in another boat of like, man, I'm doing what everyone else is doing. And it just got monotonous. And I had to really I got pretty bummed out because I was losing some joy for the business. And I always said, if that happens, I'm not going to quit. I just have to, everything's always been so fun. Different guests on the pod and stand-up. There's ways
when it becomes a job, it's a whole different deal.
1,000%. And so what was cool about the End Friend shows for me is, my shows were always with people that weren't ever at the store, weren't past. So Dana Carvey, Adam Devine, Tiffany Haddish, Nealon, would come on, and Joel, Michaela, and they'd always go, oh, I only do the shows, I'm only here when I'm doing your show. And it was always a fun hang. And so Bill Burr was supposed to do one. He had to cancel. And then he goes, whatever the next one is, I'm in. I'll make it up to you. I'm doing that with date. So I knew I had Bill Burr for that date. And then I just go, fuck, man, I'm so terrified at doing this because I knew wanted to do it in the main room where the show was. But the idea of like, man, staff that I all are friends with, comics, just the idea of it not going well and me taking a chance, because nobody's doing that. There's the roast battle, there's other stand-up oriented shows, but there's nothing like this. And I just was like terrified. And then I was like, well, if I'm terrified, I got to try it.
Yeah.
And what's the worst that's going to happen? It doesn't go well. I got Bill Burr up there with me. So, and it sold out in a fucking hour. And I was nervous as shit. And I go, and then when I hit him up, I go, Burr, I'm thinking about doing this Dr. Phil live show. I come out as Phil and I do a monologue and some crowd work. I don't really know what it looks like, but we interview, and then Jeremiah's going to come out at the end and be a character, and then we'll do something, and every show is going to end in a fake fight, and then I do like a final thought with a spotlight, and he couldn't have gotten back quicker and was like, buddy, fucking hilarious. Make fun of my anger issues. I fucking love it. So that got me fired up to do it. And then it went pretty great. And then it was like,
It must have.
all right, well, now I got to do that again.
Yeah.
And now I got to reach on, like you, it's like if you work hard and you're not, being kind goes a long way. Not being a piece of shit goes a longer way.
Yeah.
And if you are somewhat personable and sociable, you can meet some people to go, hey, I'm doing this fun thing. And what is fun about it, and I think attractive to all the people we've had on, Burr's done it a second time, and now, Jelly Roll and Tim Dillon. And
Jelly Roll did it?
Yeah, and he's going to do it again coming up on one of the theater shows. And, Johnny Knoxville and Adam Devine and Bobby Lee and Nealon's going to do it, and Stamos is doing it.
I think did Guy Fieri do it with you?
Well, in the Super Bowl this last weekend.
Oh, he did.
But now he and I have connected, and he's like wants to do one up in wine country where he lives. So we're gonna get that going. But it's something else in the comedy department, but it's a different beast. And it's even Mark Maron did it last week.
He did?
Yeah, and had a fucking blast, dude, and was awesome. He was just. At one point, he goes, I looked up on Wikipedia, I go, it says here you were in D2 Mighty Ducks. And he goes, no, I don't know you got that. And I go, all right, fuck. You ever seen Oppenheimer? And just kind of right back to it. And he goes, actually, yeah, funny story, I was. And he was nervous as shit, dude. He hit me up 4 times that week being like, and I've gotten to know him over the past few years to where I'm like, I see past your curmudgeonness and you're actually a sweet guy. And I actually want to be buddy with you more because I know that you're not a piece of shit.
No,
and
he's a nice
you
guy.
just got to get to know people, man.
Doing that show is so important, man. When I did that, I was nervous. I don't get nervous about
doing
much.
his podcast.
Yeah, I was really nervous.
Your episode was great.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, and knowing again that he's a good conversationalist, I'm like, he'll be down, and I know how silly he can be.
Yes.
So he goes, actually, I was in Mighty Ducks too. A friend of mine, blah, 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 I met, and he's like, I'm doing this movie. You could play the valet. I did it, and then they cut it out. And then I go, you got cut at a D2 Mighty Ducks? I go, that might be the most embarrassing shit I've ever heard. I go, you interviewed Obama, motherfucker. You should take that fact to the grave. And he was dying laughing. Everybody's going, it was fun. And so having it be something that, because Mark was like, I didn't really know what to expect. I was like, it's all ad-libbed, but the fact that
they're
it
open
is
for it,
the fact that it is not your stand-up or his podcast, for a lot of people, they're like, oh, I'm not in control of what's happening. But what I always say is like, I got the wheel, but you can grab it anytime. And
How was Dana Carvey?
He hasn't done it yet.
Oh, he hasn't.
But he's done my podcast 19 times.
I think he's brilliant.
He's one of the best people of all time.
Yes.
And he's one of the funniest guys I've ever met in my entire life. He is so fucking quick. We did a last time he was on the pod with Brad and I when we did my old apartment when we first met.
Where did he?
So my old apartment when you came, Laurel and Hollywood is when we first met, and that's where we used to do it.
So Dana came over to that?
Everybody would come there. Saggy came through there. Sebastian.
Wow.
And it was fun because it was studio enough, but it was still informal enough to where you could have get a good conversation out. And the Trump P tape had just come out, and we started talking about it, and then I was like, I go, there should be a movie about it. I go, in fact, and I pulled up a little movie trailer music, and I go, this summer, and we basically did the tape everyone's been talking about finally comes to the surface. And then Dana just jumped right in, and he goes, baby, I got a lot of pee, and you know where it's going, And then I go, Trump, like the tape that he didn't want to get out there did. And the maid was the first one to find the pee, played by Paul McCartney. And then, just sitting by, and he'd go, well, I found the pee on the bed. And he just jumps in, and then I set him up for all his impressions. Brad does a few. He does like Michael Caine and whoever. So I'd set up him for, and then we had my buddy animate it and put it on YouTube.
Oh my, I gotta look that up.
But Dana just, and so that is the fun of the show is now.
Yeah.
And the challenge is booking it on the road. We're doing Marat Theater in Indianapolis.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've played that.
Oh shit.
Yeah,
in
and
June.
Who you getting for that?
So I don't announce the guests. They're all.
okay.
So my agent goes, get the show to a point to where the show sells.
Because there ain't no big stars in Indianapolis.
I fly everybody out. So
You
maybe
do?
we'll talk. Yeah.
Oh.
So I mean, Beacon, we had a few people out there in New York. When you're in cities where
New York, LA, Chicago, it's easy.
But like Vegas, we flew out Burt Kreischer. Ken Jeong flew out and did Mr. Chow from The Hangover.
Oh my!
For the first time live.
Did he really?
Pauly Shore was there. Jeff Ross. But like the show, we have 2 in Denver this week, and then Utah. So
have you announced who's going to be at those?
No. So the show, he goes, get it to a point to where it sells on its own, because if you announce the guests, people are going to be like, well, how do we know that they're not going for them? You know,
Right.
So it got to that point to where people are coming to the show, and now that's an extra surprise.
Yeah,
because,
big surprise.
Yeah. So I've got 2 people locked in for Indy in June, and
Nice.
maybe a third. We'll talk.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
But
I'm going back in August to throw out a pitch at the Indianapolis Indians.
Let's
See, I grew up
go.
on minor
Wow.
league baseball there.
Oh, yeah.
And they called me and said, "Would you? We're going to do Marc Summers Day."
Cool. Have you thrown a pitch before?
Fenway Park, my friend.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'm a Red Sox fan.
Are
And,
you?
Yeah, and that
You might
was
get Bregman. That's still on the table.
yes. But that was one of the most frightening. I said I did Oprah, I did Howard Stern, I did everything. Tonight Show, throwing the pitch out at Fenway scared the living crap out of me, because if you don't get it across, those people will eat you alive.
Oh.
And I got up that morning. I had gone to a sporting goods store the day before. I bought like 25 baseballs.
Funny, you're thinking about it all
the
week,
time,
all day.
That's right, for a month. You know,
It's like, I want it to be over, which is so shitty, because you're like, what a cool thing.
oh
But
yeah,
yeah.
And they told me, take your time walking out there. I said, no, I'm going to run out to that mound, and because I don't know if I'll ever be out here again. And they said, well, you don't want to do it from the mound. You want to do it in front of the mound. I said, hell no. I'm at Fenway.
On the
I'm
mound,
throwing,
baby.
And I got it across, and I got video that proves it.
That's
So
unbelievable.
that's super cool. Murat is this classic old school theater in
Cool.
Indianapolis, man.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
And, so you'll love that. So now, were you afraid of Dr. Phil suing you?
No, everybody asks that. Cease and desist, maybe. A good friend of mine brought that up pretty early. Like once we did, Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino did, I think, episode 2, and that's, the Burr one got, again, the guys that shot all my sketches when I was trying to, again, just, add weapons to the arsenal and just do stuff. I met these kids, James and Dave Cadiglia, that were film students and doing special effects for Lucasfilms and J.J. Abrams. A buddy of mine introduced me to them, and they're like, yeah, we want to do like comedy videos, like something that's different than what we do. I go, I am poor. I have Frosted Flakes for dinner, but I can pay you in coffee and dinners. And then they're like, easy. So I'd write some. We'd shoot 9 to 4, dinner from 5 to 6:30, and then edit from 7 till 2 a.m. and post it the next morning.
Wow.
And it was the most fun I've ever had. And that's what the Phil show was born out of, because I was talking to my wife and I go, I got to get back to when I was doing that, because that was the most fun I ever had. It was the most happy I was, because I was collaborating. I was creating something from the ground up, and it was again, like controlling what I can control, having the final say, but also like, James being like, oh, I think we should cut this whole part. And I'm like, man, it just, those 2 seconds set up this. And then him being like, well, what about this? I'm like, all right, that was a good note. Let's cut that. That was so fun. And that's what the Phil show is. And so the guys that shot those videos now shoot and direct and everything for the Phil episodes, and did the Netflix special with Real Phil that came on. We did that.
Yeah, I know all about it.
So they really make it look good and sound good. And the Burr episode did a couple mil in a week, and then the next one did with Andrew and Bobby, and they were like, Andrew who said, man, you got to be careful. Phil's going to shut this down at some point. He's like, I love you. I just want you to be thinking ahead of like, don't be putting all your eggs in this basket. And I'm like, I am the king of having things be promised and go away or getting close. So
did you get in touch with him? Did he get in touch with
so
you? Because you did something together, right?
Yes. His son hit me up on Instagram and was like, I'm Phil's son. Phil's my dad. I was like, I picked that up from the first thing he said.
Yeah.
And he was like, he is a fan of your shit. I've showed him a lot. I'm his eyes and ears. We got to get him on the show. And I was like, dude, this is the best DM I've ever gotten, other than the time Katy Perry left me on scene. And let's figure it out.
What did Katy Perry do?
I threw a drunk Hail Mary to have her come to one of my shows pre-wife, and she did not respond, but left it on scene. And I was like, because I saw her.
She lives up by me. Maybe we'll go stalk her.
Oh, my God. Just a stalking lunch. Yeah. So we connected on that. He put me in touch with his publicist. And then it was just, again, the booking nightmare of being active without being aggressive and being like, here are the dates we're doing it in LA. Or then we have this big theater tour. which, by the way, tickets at adamraycomedy.com. We have 25 cities left. Boston, Nashville, Atlanta, Detroit, Toronto, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Kansas City,
Wow.
Dallas, Austin. I think that's it.
That's great. So where did he do it?
In L.A. at the Comedy Store. So he goes,
Oh,
we
he
can do
did?
September 18th at the Comedy Store. And I'm like, that's in 2.5 weeks. So I tell my agents and all them, and they were like, my agent Nick was like, I'm going to hit up Netflix and see if they want to fuck with this. And they did, and we got it together in 2 weeks.
No.
And I FaceTime Phil an hour before the show and go, and he was like, you would have known a long time ago if I wasn't cool with this shit. He's like, it's funny. I've been watching, and this is your show. Yeah, you're the star. Yeah, I'm going to, keep the attention on you, but I'm going to fuck with you.
So what'd you do with him?
So I go, all I want to do is not waste your intro. When you come out, that's got to be
Gigantic.
You can't just walk out. But I go, but everything we do is like what we did. It's just we're gonna riff,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna.
Was he able to do it?
He murdered. So I
Really?
go, here's what I'm thinking. Every show, if I'm doing when I'm doing crowd work, I eventually talk to somebody and they say something, and I find a moment to go, I don't like your fucking attitude right now, which has now become like we have merch with it on it and everything. And I said the catchphrases I say are that, or sometimes I laugh so hard, which it really happened where I go, you're gonna make my mustache fall off, which that's the thing. And then the Oppenheimer thing is I'll say if like Bill Burr went on a rant about Nazis in the Catholic Church
did he
for
really?
about 2.5 minutes, and he goes, that's why they don't fucking want to tell you, because these guys and the uniforms and the fucking Hugo Bosses, they're the ones that created these German Nazi outfits in the first place. 2 beats, and I go, you seen Oppenheimer? And it crushes every time. And so I'm always, as soon as somebody gets on a roll, I'm like, all right, I'm going to, if the timing works.
That's very funny.
So he comes on and I go, I'm going to say I don't like your fucking attitude to somebody in the crowd, and then I want you to come out. We locked up the phones for that show. Crowd, thankfully.
You did.
Crowds are always hot and pumped, but this one was like, thank God they were just wild. And so they went nuts when he walked out.
They must have gone out of their mind.
Out of their minds. I go, milk the applause, come out, he like waves, screams, picks up the mic, does the whole thing. Everyone's going nuts. And I'm like looking at him and like acting surprised, like, who's this guy? So then he goes, yeah, I don't like your fucking attitude. That gets a big thing. And then, so this is all what I had planned with him. And then I would go, who are you? That gets a laugh.
Oh,
and
did
he
you
goes,
really?
And then he goes, who am I, bitch? Who the fuck are you?
Oh, my.
Big laugh.
Well,
he
they don't
added
expect that
he
at
added
all.
bitch and fuck, because I was like, you can just say, who are you
Wow.
back? And then I go, after that, then I walk up to him and then we do this. And we do the
Oh,
mirror
do you
thing.
really?
And then we mirror, that gets a laugh. And then he takes a pause and looks at the camera. And as I do every show, we'll be right back. And then I go, well, fuck that shit. We'll keep it right here. Phil McGraw, everybody. And then we sat down and chatted for about 40 minutes.
Really?
And right out of the gate, I sit down. I go, it's good to see you, Phil. I'm glad you're here. And he goes, I'm sure you are. He goes, I'm sure this is exactly how you play this.
You should have walked off with his wife at the end.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Like he does every show.
Yeah, which I think is demeaning and degrading. and
Wild. I just, wanted to be a part of it, I guess.
So did you ever think in your wildest dreams that this is going to happen?
Nope. And that's
And
why
you can't predict this
No, you
stuff.
can't predict it. Because it's, the now performing the show and bringing a photographer from the store on the road, Van Corona, and the guy who does tech, who just plays people up and down with songs, is now getting to run a show at these massive theaters. He walks in and he's like, he can't believe it. Sometimes he gets choked up because he's like, this is what I wanted. And then he's getting to create. I didn't even know he was a costume guy. And he was like, do you want me to build stuff for the show? And I go, I have this idea for the pie thing. He built this amazing. So now he's adding that element. And then Jeremiah comes on, and then my best bud, who's now my assistant, and we're making shows and are trying to is getting to travel and produce, which is what he wanted to be doing, and the true joy that people are getting from it is what I said to Phil too in the green room. I go, man, this is obviously wild, and I appreciate you being cool with it. He's like, no, you're intense on par, and I get it's funny. And he's like, you're not making me look fucked up and whatever. And he's like, I don't give a shit. And
You're just having fun with it.
Totally.
You're not making fun of him.
No. It's we're not blurring the lines.
Exaggeration of sorts.
1000%. And he gets that, and I go, but dude, I get messages from people, which is when I really started to, in the last few years, become more aware of how like powerful what Double Dare means to people, what comedy means to people, what getting these messages to people or people in lines at meet and greets are like, my mom is stage 4 liver cancer. She's got 3 months left. The only thing we do that makes her forget any of this is we watch all the Dr. Phil's on YouTube, Netflix special, whatever, your clips, and people, we had a miscarriage 6 months ago. My wife hasn't smiled. We watched the Netflix special. Now we're going to see the show in Detroit, or it's just, I get constant messages like that, and it's just...
you don't know the impact. What I used to do a lot
Yeah.
down at the Nick Studios, the Make-A-Wish kids.
Oh yeah, man.
Their dream was to come to Double Dare.
You guys did that a bunch then, yeah?
Oh my God! One of the days I was in the, we did a cancer week. Okay.
Wow.
And I went into the makeup room, and this kid said, "Hi, Mark. How are you?" I said, "Fine." He goes, "You know who I got on the show? I got cancer." And I said, "I think there's easier ways to get on." But you don't know
God.
the impact that you have when
Yeah.
you're doing this stuff. So there was a guy by the name of Tom Snyder who was before your time. Who did late
familiar.
night talk show, and I was a guest on his show. He had no idea who I was. So he introduced me, and he said, Mark hosts this show and that show and that show. And I said, "And you've never seen one of them, have you?" And he said, "As a matter of fact, you're right. I have no idea who you are." And it was a great interview. And at the end of me, he said, "So how much longer do you think this is going to work?" And I said, "I don't know." And he goes, "Save your money." And I said, "It's great advice." He goes, "This business is insane." He said, "I started off as an anchor in Philadelphia, and then I went to do this and that." And he said, "I did late night stuff, but then I got fired, and Letterman liked me, and he put me back on and all this kind of stuff." And, do you think about that? You're young. You're 42 years old. You're kicking ass and taking names. I have no idea how much money you're making, but you're selling out like crazy.
I mean, it's not a cheap show either.
No, it can't be.
And I'm show first to where it's like, we fly people out first, put them up, give them some cash, and everyone's been down for it. Big names have been like, and even Ken coming out was like, he'd never done Chow Live, but like we gotten to become buds, and he was like, that would be really fun. And we locked the phones up for him because there were like, he had to check with lawyers. And the character is like under like Warner Brothers stuff and all that. So I am like, I don't want to lose money.
No,
but
no, but
I'm seeing benefits on like my stand-up shows selling out now, and so
So what's next though? That's the question.
I want my own show. Like I want there's probably 4 shows we're trying to get going. But like one is like I want my own like Curb type.
You did
hybrid.
Curb, didn't you?
Yeah, I played an Uber driver for one episode.
And so what was that experience
The
like?
greatest day ever. The audition was probably cooler than shooting it because Larry, I've got Garland and Allison Jones, the casting director, and all the producers. Larry's behind me, and I feel like it was my favorite show
So brilliant.
of all time. And so he's behind me, and it was outer body to where I'm like, I'm listening to an episode right now because we started like, arguing, and I made him break, and because he was like, he's like, the whole thing was Larry is, he's going to ask you what his rating is. You tell him he's 1 star, and that's it, So he gets in, and we're bullshitting, and he's like, a little cold in here, no? I'm like, all right. I go, spoken like a true 1 star, huh? And he was like, 1 star? I'm a 5 star. I go, you might feel like a 5, man, but the Uber says you're a 1. I go, and I got to be honest, when you came in here, your energy, like I knew you were going to like be weird about the gum situation. He's like, well, you don't have any gum. That's a big deal. I go, not everybody gets gum, dude. Do you go to every airport and they have a Wolfgang Puck? Like this is I'm my own guy.
This is all I've lived.
All I've lived. And then I go, and he's like, you know what? This is you should have a 1. I go, I'm not a 1, man, because I'm not starting fights with strangers. I go, you came in here, you got this, you're bald. He's like, what does that have anything to do with anything? And I go, I don't know, man. You got this like energy. I figured you were gonna bring in like some girl in, and you guys are gonna be sucking and fucking. He goes, there's no sucking, there's no fucking. And at that point, he starts laughing, and then I came back and did it again.
Oh
it was
God.
it was unbelievable. And then the shoot day was cool, and just being on it was wild. And then he actually came to the Comedy Store.
Did he?
To work out his SNL monologue.
Oh.
Pete Davidson at the time, I think, was dating his daughter, and so Pete was there to do a show. So Pete was like, hey, come through and pop in the spot. So I'm with Harlan Williams in the front patio, and Harlan, his goofy guy, goes, look at this Larry David over here. And I'm like, oh, a guy that looks like him. And then it's Larry walking down the parking lot hill, and I was like, holy shit. I go, I just did Curb like 5 months ago. And Harlan's like, you got to go say what up. I go, he's not going to fucking remember me. So he's like, just go. So I walk up, and I go, Larry, and he goes, Adam. He goes, hey, we were just editing your episode. He goes, man, so funny. How are you? And I'm like, awesome. I go, you look lost. And he was like, I haven't been here in 37 years. And I go,
37
yeah.
years.
And I go, you want me to show you around? He goes, that would be great. So now I'm just like, what
nice.
the fuck? So we walk past one of the door guys. Hey, Adam. Hey, Larry. And I just go, shut the fuck up. Be cool. We walk by every door guy's just like, I'm like, hey, man, it's kind of 2 seats in the back, the bucket seats. I'm like, yeah, cool. What the fuck? Never been. It was wild. Curb is at its height. Wow. We sit in the bucket seats in the original room, and we watch 3 comics. I go, is it all pretty much the same to you? He goes, it's pretty much the same. Yeah, nothing's going to change, And then we go to the main room, and he's watching Pete, and it's about 3/4 full, and I go, you going to go up? He's like, I think I'm good. I just, the jokes aren't ready or whatever. And then Pete comes over. He's like, you got to go up, dude. You got to go up. And he goes up. So Chris Kattan, I have video of it still. Chris Kattan brings him up. And, guys like Chappelle, who are still, massive acts, but are still popping into clubs. Yeah. It's known that they do stand-up. Larry,
nobody knows.
There's no like...
I did warm-ups on Fridays.
No, with him
and
Michael Richards.
And Michael Richards.
Whoa, dude.
I was there with the Andy Kaufman episode, all that stuff, yeah.
That was shot...
ABC, 4151 Prospect.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was that warm-up conducive to, like, the way hosting... I mean, it was pretty much... TV warm-up is a lot of crowd work and a lot of...
Well, it is.
You do your jokes.
I was the king of warm-ups at the time. I did Soap and Star Search and Alice and What's Happening Now. I was making six figures back in the day doing warm-ups, and they asked me to do that show, and I got fired because I wouldn't do coke with one of the producers.
Wow, I get that. That's on you. That's called being a buzzkill, Mark, and hopefully you've learned something in your time on Earth.
He called my agent and said I made him uncomfortable, that I wouldn't do blow with him. So,
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. I mean, show business back then was insane.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
It's calmed down a little bit, I guess. There's crazy pockets everywhere.
It depends on the shows, but that show was exceptionally kind of whack.
Did you guys have double dare parties? Like, were the cast and crew parties fun, or was it you went your separate ways after?
No, yeah. And plus, think about it. I was the old man then. Everybody who worked on the show was in their early 20s. Oh, wow. I got the job, I was 34. So when I got done, I was in my mid-40s, and they were all still so much younger. So I didn't have a lot in common with the people that were hanging out, and they wanted to go and get drunk and get laid. And when I was working the Comedy Store, they used to call me the accountant comedian because I was the only comedian that was married. I got married, I was 22. My wife was 21.
Whoa!
So I've been married almost 51 years.
Whoa! Advice? I'm 3 in.
I tell you the deal. People say, "How do you stay married for that long?" I say, "I've only been home for 15 of them." Because I was always on the road. I was touring.
So this is the yin and the yang.
The yin and the yang.
What she loves about it and what's bought us.
She has her own
house. She's got her own thing, but even like tonight, I got to go, to Denver and gone for 4 days.
Yep.
But then I'm back for 8, and I told her I was like, I'm gonna do a few spots during the week, but like maybe even I might just be with you that whole week.
I used to be gone 2-3 months at a time. I mean, there were times, I can tell you, I've never told the story, and we'll talk about editing this, but I hadn't seen her in months, and we hadn't had sex, and I was in Orlando and had a date in Seattle. I flew to L.A., we had sex, I got on a plane, and I went to Seattle, because, at some point...
Hey, man, but guess what? Those 4 seconds probably saved your...
4?
Marriage.
How do you do 4?
Funny, dude. Funny. Took it, threw it right back.
It's amazing. So, are you out pitching this idea of you doing all these shows?
Yeah.
So, are your agents doing stuff now that you've worked your ass off for them?
Now it's a tough thing of, I've been so self-reliant on, like, being self-sufficient that now I have to really, like, I guess give up a little bit of... It's tough for me to trust that anyone can get anything done that's not me. So I have all these relationships, and I don't. Even I just had a talk with my manager, is an older guy and a younger guy. That's kind of my point guy. Then our tour manager for the Phil shows, which are all on sale at AdamRayComedy.com. Nashville, Atlanta, Boston, Dallas, Detroit, Kansas City, big theaters, a lot of crazy surprises, special guests. But they're like, we can do this for you, and I'm like, I know the person. Let me do it. I don't
need you.
I'm not at that place yet, and finding that balance of like, I don't want you to feel like you're not needed, but you're gonna too many cooks in the kitchen on this. Even UTA reached out to maybe help out with some booking because I'm like, wow, my UTA now they got all these big people. The booking it's always falling on me, and this is why meeting Fieri at the Super Bowl thing, and then now I will go in touch with him. I'm not going to now pawn off his info to somebody else.
No,
we talked about it, and he wants to do it because we talked.
Yeah.
So why would you fuck that up? But
Netflix, network, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a curb type of show, a sketch show, it's an anthology type show. I love hosting, and so I'm really passionate about and pretty fun with kids. So there's even like I would love to do like a kid show. So there's not enough hours in the day, and this has always been my problem, a blessing and a curse. I need to just figure it out and put all the energy into a few things. But I also feel like I've gotten to where I am because I've been able to spread, do a lot.
Where'd you meet your wife?
In Arizona. She was dating one of my friends, and her best friend was dating one of my friends, and he was about to move her from Arizona to Sacramento. And I was having a weekend at the Tempe Improv, and he was like, let's go see his last show on Sunday. We met there. They ended up splitting up and moving to LA. We reconnected. It was about 4 months later, but we had kept in touch. We all went out that night and got drunk and had a good time. And then just kind of 8th grade style texted and emailed. And then she was like, if you're going to move to LA. And I was like, fuck yeah. She's like, LA or New York. And she's like, wouldn't come out, like, don't, any pressure. And I was like, no, but, which was really sweet. Because I was working and being single and whatever. And then we started hanging out, and it was as easy as it is now. And I lived in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and she was staying in Venice in a studio with her friend. They worked at bars and restaurants out there. And I was like, what do you do when your roommate brings somebody home? She's like, oh, she just sleeps in between me and the guy. I go, you can stay at my place anytime you want. I have 2 bedrooms and a bigger TV. So she stayed, and then I would be on the road and come back, and it was so nice having her there. It was so comfy, and I fell in love. It was,
nice.
And she's the best thing ever.
So 3 years?
3, yeah.
Nice.
And she just is she's an animation voiceover casting, and
cool.
And just a beast, and so funny, and so like, just supportive of this. And I even told her last night I had 2 spots at the Comedy Store, and we got back from the Super Bowl, and we're beach. She'd never been to New Orleans, so we took advantage.
Where'd you stay?
At the French Market Inn on Decatur Street, a little kind of boutique hotel.
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
we booked it in October, but man, nothing was open below $5,000 if you didn't book it in October.
Did you go to the game?
No, we just watched it at a bar. I went in 2013 when my Seahawks played in New York against the Broncos. But if your team's not in it, tickets, I think there were tickets for maybe $2,500. But like, we wanted to watch. We want to watch the commercials.
So much better to do it that way, man.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Normally I do all sorts of research, and I did a lot of research, but I didn't get to any of it.
We'll do a part 2.
Yeah, we need to. I did 150 robot chickens, and the checks never end. Have you done a lot of robot chickens?
I think like maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, it's nice. It's just those
amazing
residuals. It's so much fun.
I know, man.
I enjoy doing that. One of the things we talk about on this show is overcoming obstacles. Are there any obstacles that stick out in your mind that you have overcome?
Oh yeah. Well, I got into comedy because of, I think, being a fat kid and
Really?
And when you're just like, oh, you were fat. That was big for about 3 years. Pretty big, like 170 in the 4th grade. Pretty big. Maybe
That's
180.
big.
That's big.
Yeah.
My mom, if you're asking your mom if you can borrow her bra, chances are things aren't going according to plan.
So fat you'd sit on a quarter and boogers would come out of George Washington's nose.
My blood type was ragu. All that shit. Your mama's so fat. Your son's so fat. And I wore my T-shirt when I swam, not because I was embarrassed. I don't make the girls jealous with what I was working with. Charged my friends $5 to fill me up. All that. Yeah.
It never
ended. But so I was getting teased and so depressed isn't the right word, but just, and then I started making kids laugh and kids that I wasn't friends with. And all of a sudden, I was not the fat kid. I was the funny kid. And so the same way it is now, I was like able to recognize, oh, I'm feeling good from making people laugh. And I'm making people laugh, which feels good. So I'm making them feel good.
Yep.
So I'm going to chase this. And then had to, wear a suit for my bar mitzvah. And my grandpa, in a very casually passive-aggressive way, goes, you can't wear sweatpants on the bima, which should be the name of my book if I ever write one. You can't wear sweatpants on the bima, but which sounds like a Judy Blume novel. But and so I dropped some lbs and then just started feeling a little bit better about myself. But I always had that fat kid mentality. But huge obstacle because I had to. My mom always got chastised for her weight as a kid from her parents, and didn't want to do that to me. And so finally, when I just came home and had a friend that thought was the only maybe one that was like my ally, and then he made fun of me one day, and it was like, man, that just broke me. And she was like, "All right, I'll help you. I'll cook better food. We'll do this. I'll try to help you and get some discipline going to really." And then a fat kid. I mean, must have dropped 40 pounds in 3 months.
Oh my!
And and it spreads like wildfire. I remember being at the 6th grade party. That's towards the end of 6th grade and the 7th grade. And all the teachers, and again, I'm known for double fisting Pop-Tarts and dipping fucking burritos into Cool Whip, and just fucking, and my friend's dad's being like, after you're done with that toaster strudel, you got time for a titty fuck? I mean, it was like, everyone knew I was the fat fucking kid. Stay away from my pantry is what mamas would say. Swear to God. And, you get one thing out of there. And I was like, Jesus Christ. So I'm at the 6th grade party, and I remember grabbing veggies, and I remember one of the teachers in front of all the moms going, Ray, pizza? Or she'd go, Ray, veggies? The pizza's right there.
Oh.
Can you imagine saying that to a 6th grade, 12-year-old boy?
No.
What are you doing, fatty?
But you haven't forgotten
the good stuff's right here. And I just was like, yeah. And I just remember having to go like, yeah, no, I'm just not really in a pizza mood today. Even though it was clear that I was like trying to, not, miss out on my 50s. And, so that obstacle, but I'm grateful for all that because I'm doing what I'm doing now. And, but that was a big one.
You're doing it really well.
Thank you, Mark.
I get nervous about doing these things because I'm always worried. Sometimes the people you admire so much, they get across from the microphone and they just don't. It's a lot of yes/no questions.
Oh, man.
You're fantastic.
Oh, thanks, Mark.
You are so good.
Oh, thanks,
You're
man.
articulate and you tell great stories, and
Thanks,
it's a
brother.
natural.
Thanks,
You just
brother.
have that ability. Not many people do. So,
Thanks, man.
so once again, the website is
AdamRayComedy.com. Stand-up dates are every month is a couple stand-up dates, and we have 8 Phil shows in March, which is probably too much. Hopefully this podcast isn't the last thing you hear of me. And then a big stand-up tour in the fall. Podcast is about last night, and my special is on my YouTube page. It's called Like and Subscribe. And all the Dr. Phil lives are on my YouTube, youtube.com/AdamRayComedy. And that's where all the tour dates are and the merch and TBD for more stuff.
Adam Ray. Thanks so much for being
Dude,
with us.
Mark,
And
this is, I said it at the beginning, but like you are on the Mount Rushmore of people that have influenced my life, dude.
Oh, man, that's
Even
cool.
we had Wayne Brady on the Dr. Phil Live show in December, and we improvised a song that
must have
went
been cool.
that went viral, and I'll send you a clip to it. And that was like as special and fun as meeting and getting to become buds with you is, and chatting with you, because as a kid, you need whatever the entertainment is that even gets you, that influences you to go, oh, that looks fun. You needed those first things to see something on TV that makes you go, oh, there's a performing aspect to, like, I was clocking that even watching you. Do you know what I'm saying? Is
Really?
Even not knowing that I wanted to be on stage or be in front of a mic, but you were at the helm making all this fun, and it was like, as a kid, I wanted to be on the show. But you were a part of that even there's a performing in that where it's like you're on the mic answering trivia questions. Some kids were sometimes funny and charismatic, so you're like
100%.
Oh, do I have to be that? So it all adds to it, man. So
Funny how that
God bless you, dude.
goes in your mind.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I really, really appreciate that.
Yeah. We'll set that stalker lunch for Katy Perry in 2-3 weeks when I get back from the road.
I'll mark it down. No problem. Adam Ray, go see his shows. You'll be delighted, and thanks for inviting me on that one of the Comedy Store. I had a ball. Next week, who are we unwrapping? Stay tuned. We'll find out. Thanks for being with us. Bye-bye. Marc Summers Unwraps is a production of Believe Limited, created by me, Marc Summers, and Jessica Richmond. Produced by Keith Corneluk and Jessica Richmond. Executive produced by Patrick James Lynch and Ryan Geelan. Post-production support from Joshua Sterling Bragg and Believe Limited. Don't forget to subscribe or follow the show on your favorite podcast player. And if you really love it, why don't you leave us a rating and a review? Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Marc Summers Unwraps.